Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Freer, and I'm the business librarian here at RIT, and I'm going to highlight our resource of the month, U.S. Newsstream. U.S. Newsstream is a newspaper and periodical full-text database that is available to current RIT students, staff, and faculty members, whether they're working on campus or off campus. U.S. Newsstream is part of the library's ProQuest subscription. It provides you with access to the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times, the Chicago Tribune, along with many regional newspapers from across the country. Access to the database can be found through the RIT Library's website. You can also access it on or off campus. When accessing it off campus through your remote access, you're going to need your RIT username and password. This is limited only to current students, faculty, and staff members. Alumni can access it while on campus at RIT. Coverage of this database is usually content that is published in the daily newspapers with some content from the online-only content published on websites such as nyt.com or wsj.com. This is going to vary newspaper to newspaper. RIT is not able to provide access to newspaper websites directly, such as nyt.com or wsj.com. The presentation of information in U.S. Newsstream is mostly text only. That is going to be for most of the daily articles published in the newspapers or the weekly articles published in periodicals. For the most part, you will not see any images, graphics, illustrations, photos, tables, charts, graphs, or videos. There is an option to listen to the text within each article. There will also be occasional PDFs that will have graphic design. The New York Times book review with graphic design is in here, along with photographs, and the New York Times Magazine is also in here in PDF format. There are also some limited video and audio options from a few publications and podcasts. I'm going to do a demonstration now of using this product, and we're going to cover how to enter into US Newsstream. We're going to cover browsing, so you can see across the articles that are made available and browse for new things that may be new to you. I'm going to also show you how to direct searching. I'm going to show you how to save articles, and I'm also going to show you how to set up alerts so that you can get notified on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis if new articles have been published on a topic that you like, or even just a prompt to browse the new issue of a newspaper. To navigate to US Newsstream, you can start at the library website. In the center box, click on the Databases tab here and type in the name of the database that you want access to. In this case, we want access to US Newsstream. Click Search, and now you get a description of the product and a link that will take you right into US Newsstream. If you're on campus, it will place you right into the product. If you are off campus, you will get prompted for your RIT username and password. For today's demo, I am on campus. So here I am in US Newsstream, and I got access in the center to run a basic search. I could also run an advanced search. I can also browse different publications. If I wanted to search across a specific set of publications, I could search across the 60 Minutes archive. I could search across the major dailies. These are the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Chicago Tribune, Los Angeles Times, and one more, Washington Post, that is available to you. You also see that you also have access to different regional newspapers. The Northeast edition also includes the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. So let's see how we can browse a publication. So if I wanted to read today's New York Times, how could I do that? You're going to go to the Publications tab. From the Publication search box, type in New York Times. You're going to leave it as in title, because we happen to know in this case the full name of the New York Times. And you'll see here that you have 7 publications related to the New York Times. The newspaper published every day, the last copy is called the East Coast edition. The West Coast edition is published, I don't know if it's first. I think the international editions are physically printed first, followed by West Coast, and then East Coast is the last one that is physically printed, because those printing presses are closer to where those papers are being distributed. You can also see that you have access to the book review. You have access to the New York Times in Spanish, the New York Times Magazine, some of the online content. Please keep in mind for both the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, and the New York Times, their direct access through their platforms does have direct subscriber content and a little bit of video that the Times puts together. So if you wanted to browse today's New York Times, you would click on New York Times Late Edition, East Coast, and we can see here that we have access to the articles that were published in the Late Edition East Coast printed newspaper for January 24th. I don't know the exact time, but I believe these go in between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. every morning. So there are approximately 83 items. If you're not used to reading the physical newspaper, it might not occur to you that page number matters. So the articles on the very first page of the New York Times printed edition tend to be more prominent and more important than the articles published on the last page of the last section of the paper. The paper used to be 4 sections long. I believe it's now down to 2, that it's been a while since I've seen the printed edition. So here's an article on China's travel economy, one about the ghosts of Black Appalachia, the slashing of carbon emissions. You can now enter into the full text of each one of these articles. And in this case, we can see we are getting one image available to us. And then the text is here. You can also listen to the articles. So I've done this where I've brought this up on my mobile phone and I've listened to an article as I'm doing something else. It's also suggesting to you other articles out of the New York Times, which might be of interest based on the topic of this article. I can also look at what is called the details of the article, and the details are the indexing. So the New York Times has sent along a little bit of metadata, or ProQuest has identified within this article what are the major topics discussed. In the case of this article, international travel, passports, geopolitics, etc. For newspaper articles, sometimes this indexing is not as precise as it is with academic and scholarly articles. Academic and scholarly articles are kind of in the publishing pipeline for so long. Those keywords and subject headings have more time to be refined. Daily newspaper articles, sometimes there's less time to refine them, and each of the major databases we subscribe to assign subject headings in a different way. But these can also be sometimes helpful if you're trying to explore a topic and you find a subject heading. Now, let's say you wanted a copy of this article. You would, on your right-hand side, you could print the article as a physically printed article or as a PDF to read later. You can also copy the link to the article and then email that to yourself or place it on your desktop. You can also save this as a PDF. It won't be a copy of the PDF as it was printed in the newspaper. It's a copy of the PDF that you see on the screen. You can also save it to your research. It is possible to create an account within the US Newsstream and ProQuest databases in which you can save multiple articles for your research or for your own personal development. You will need to remember every time that you go into US Newsstream to log into your My Research account. That's why I really do prefer emailing articles to myself or saving them on my desktop because I know for sure I'm going to be getting them. Now, if we back up to that specific issue, I can also create an alert. So if I open up Create Alert, I can have an alert sent to me whenever a new citation or the full text is available for the full issue of the New York Times. So to do this, I just need to send it to an email. It does not have to be your RIT email. You can send it to a personal email address. So the subject, I can change this, and I could say this is the Daily New York Times so that I remember when I see this what I was having the service send to me. I can add a message to myself, and I can limit it. It's not forever. It's going to be only for 2 weeks up to a year. So let's say for 2 weeks, I'm going to create this alert. So now tomorrow, when the new issue of the New York Times comes into the US Newsstream, I will be notified and I'll be able to click through the email that I get to read those articles. So that's browsing, and browsing is an awesome way to discover topics and ideas and events nationally and internationally that you weren't aware of. Many of us get our news through our smartphones or through social media sites that are curating information to us and sometimes keep us in a bubble of the same information over and over again. So we've covered browsing. Let's now talk about search, because there may be times, whether for classroom projects or for your own personal interests, that you want to search for a particular idea, topic, person, event. So these tools are very powerful and allow you to do some very narrow or, if you want, very broad searching across publications or within a specific publication. So let's take an example. Here we are on the basic search screen for US Newsstream. And as I said below, in the include databases, we could limit and say, I only want to find things in the 5 major US dailies, or I only want to find things in the Northeast Newsstream. We're not going to limit in this case. Let's start out searching across everything available to us in US Newsstream. Now, you could look at advanced search, and let's take a quick peek at advanced search. When we think about searching in Google, we're just putting in words or phrases. Phrases you usually put into quotation marks. The power of these databases is they are indexing different sections of an item that goes in. So let's say you were looking for an article where the word avalanche occurred in the title of the article, you could limit to just the title field. Or let's say you were looking for articles that were mainly about a particular person. You could search in the person field. Now, these fields aren't fully filled in for every single article, so sometimes there might be gaps in the indexing, but it's still a nice way to start. Subject is one of the big ones. So let's say I only wanted to find articles that had attached to them the word avalanche. I choose the subject field, and in the field, to the left, I type in avalanche, and I hit search. Before I hit search, there are other fields I could select, like if I only wanted newspaper articles versus magazines, but I will also be given the opportunity to filter out on the search result list. So I hit search, and one of the first things to notice is off on your left-hand side, we can see that we found 32,000 items, way too many for our interest right now. They are sorted currently in relevance order. Now, the product thinks, using only one word, that the first article is more relevant to you than the second article, the third article, and this is probably not the case. Now, if you had a whole bunch of words, subject avalanche, along with ski lodge, along with skiers, it's going to rank the relevancy a little bit stronger. But we're not doing that at this point. I can also flip these around and I could say, no, I don't care about relevance right now. Just show me what were the most recent articles. I could also filter by date down here, and you can see we're finding items from 1980 to the present. And I could click on the current decade. This is 2020 to 2029. And when I click, this is more than a decade actually. And when I click on that, I now get individual years. So now I'm just going to click on the ones for 2024. And so I'm doing some filtering to narrow down the 100,000 that I found, or the 32,000 I found, down to 86 results. And they are sorted in relevance order. And each one of these articles mentions or deals with the subject of avalanche. Now, the reason I ran the search, it's January 24th in the year 2024, is this is a big story lately out west with the way that the snowpack is being built after these storms. So I could start to then go through these articles. Now, let's say this is a topic of interest to me because I'm going to go skiing out west. I could actually, over on our right-hand side, I could save this search and I could create a search alert to keep up to date with what is happening with avalanches as reported in the year 2024 in different newspapers. So I could create the alert. So I can go to Save Search, and I can create an alert, or I can get a search link, and I can have that link saved so that every time a new article comes in, I can just click on the link. I can also save the search within my research folder, though once again, I don't necessarily recommend doing this because you do have to remember every single time to sign into my research. So those are a few of the basics of searching US Newsstream or browsing US Newsstream for major newspapers in the US and major regional newspapers in the US. If you have any other questions about using this resource or other resources at the RIT Library, contact me at jlfwml@rit.edu or use the chat function on the library website to speak with a librarian during reference hours. Thank you so much and have an awesome day.